The president's national security advisor, John Bolton, is with us from the White House. He's a former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
So U.S. allies say that the president withdrew from the Iran deal and has no plan B. What is plan B for achieving U.S. objectives?
Well, I think Plan B is already being implemented. When the president signed the decision memorandum yesterday, he began the process to put very strict U.S. sanctions back into effect. That'll have a significant ripple effect on Iran's economy. And I think it demonstrates that we're determined that we're not going to rely on paper promises. We're going to rely on real performance to stop Iran from getting deliverable nuclear weapons. And, you know, one Iranian threat that you didn't mention this morning that they've made is to increase spending on their ballistic missile program, which was never covered by the Iran nuclear deal. Now, why do they want more ballistic missiles? I can assure you it's not to launch weather satellites or communication satellites. This is how they deliver nuclear weapons, and I think it shows where the regime really is.
So the idea here is that the sanctions will be so crippling that Iran will cry uncle, give up their enrichment of uranium, give up their meddling in the Middle East, and give up their missile program? Is that how this is supposed to work?
That's a piece of it. The broader piece, as the president laid out in his remarks yesterday, and as we're going to be discussing with our European allies, we've already begun. As soon as I finish here, I'm going to get on a video conference call and continue the discussions with the British, the French, and the Germans about going after Iran's other malign behavior, its continuing support for terrorism, its military activities in the Middle East. You know, one of the theories of President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry was that the nuclear deal, by satisfying Iran, by releasing billions of dollars of economic resources, would change Iran's overall behavior across the region. It's had exactly the opposite effect.
Right now, the U.S. does not have the support of the European allies on this. Does that concern you? And if not, why doesn't it concern you?
Well, we're going to try and work with the Europeans. We have an absolutely shared common objective, which is to prevent Iran from getting deliverable nuclear weapons. We have a disagreement over the efficacy of the Iran deal, and that's the reason that President Trump exited from it. Just to give you an example, in short order, the president will be meeting with the leader of North Korea to discuss denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula, as North Korea committed to in 1992, which included not simply giving up nuclear weapons, but giving up uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing. This, by the way, was the European position when negotiations with Iran started, and it should have stayed that way.
Are you concerned, Ambassador, that this could bring us closer to war with Iran? They're already chanting death to America over there.
Yeah, I don't think it will bring us closer. I think Iran is bringing us closer to war with its belligerent activity in Iraq and Syria. You know, they've been moving missiles. The Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force has been moving missiles into Syria that can hit any target inside Israel. That's why we've seen recent Israeli strikes. It's that aggressive militaristic behavior by Iran on the ground in the region that's the real threat.
Ambassador, let me ask you about North Korea. The Secretary of State there now, will he be returning with those 3 American prisoners?
Well, I don't want to discuss the specifics. I think Secretary Pompeo is on a very difficult mission. We expect he'll be returning, leaving the peninsula in short order. And since he's the negotiator on the ground out there, I think we're going to wait and leave the initial comment to him.
All right, Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Glad to be with you.
Thanks.